Hey guys, what's up? So we are in the midst of Longmont Startup Week. So this is the fourth day of 5. So if you guys aren't familiar with startup weeks and how they work, essentially it's a combination of a lot of learning opportunities, a lot of free beer and some live music, and then opportunities to network. So I mean, the basic idea of startup weeks, and there's a bunch of them in Colorado. Longmont is one of the smaller ones, but Boulder has a startup week. Denver Startup Week in September is really one of the bigger ones. And so sort of the idea is that, when you start a company, it's really small, a lot of times just a couple of people, and then there's just a lot of stuff that's outside of your domain. So what is specifically about, like for us, about golf, or some business concepts, but a lot of times it's like, well, especially marketing, maybe you don't know anything about, or especially how you do like startup marketing when you have 0 customers and nobody knows who you are except for a couple of your friends. And so then there's just free classes that go on to help you to learn more. So it's a really great thing to help you get going. And then there's also tends to be a lot of people who show up who would like to work for a startup, or build maybe some sweat equity on that end as well. So anyway, here in a couple minutes, I'm going to, this will be a class on like how to get your first 500 customers from people who have actually done that before. So my last few years I have built a different startup in education, so my sense is that I probably know most of what they're going to say, but you never know when there's a chance to learn or a chance to make a great connection. So anyway, that'll be the next hour for me. Let me see, to give you guys an update. So in the last video I was talking about this place we were going to go see in Longmont, and right now it still is between Longmont and Greeley. Those are really our 2 big locations, and they have different things. Like the one in Greeley, really one of the values I think is that you can possibly make a connection to the University of Northern Colorado, which is in Greeley, their golf team, right? And so for a lot of college golf teams, it ends up they don't have really great places to practice indoors in the winter if it's in a cold weather state like Colorado. And so like Longmont doesn't have really that option, where Greeley does. But anyway, but right now we're getting much more of a response from the Longmont location, and that we have a golf pro who I think is interested in working with us, which is of value. And then we also just have a location and a landlord who's I think pretty interested in our idea. So when we went and looked at the place, it's essentially, so it used to be a cigar lounge, which I think means that a lot of people hang out and smoke cigars and probably sip on some fine whiskey or something like that. And so it's a pretty big place. It's about 3,000 square feet, and there's essentially like 2 big rooms. There's a front room, which for us is where we would put the golf simulators. And then there's a back room, which has like a little small bar, and so we'd need to make it a little bit bigger. I mean, it looks kind of like a barista type bar, like something you'd see like at Starbucks or something like that. So we need to make it bigger where it looks like a bar that you would actually go into. And they also have like this little fireplace, which makes it kind of like more like a lounge. So originally we were thinking this back room was going to be more like game oriented, with like maybe like a pool table and foosball and like typical bar games. But now we're thinking much more lounge oriented back there, so you have a bar, you have a bunch of couches and things, and then a bunch of like big screen TVs. So it's much more like a hangout area. And one of our ideas with this is that like typically there'd be golf on TV, like whatever tournament happens to be going on that week, and that we would have a setup where if you wanted to be involved in this, where you can pick like 6 golfers you think are the most likely to do well that week, and essentially be put into like a little pool where you can put a little bit of money on it, and if you're most correct about the most golfers who finish the best, then you win a little bit of money. So there is a little bit of a question on whether or not this is legal. To us it seems kind of like a DraftKings concept, except it's in a bar. So I'm pretty sure it's legal, but I actually have several friends who went to the University of Denver while I was in business school. So they went to the University of Denver Law School. So I need to run this idea past them and try to get an idea of whether or not it's legal or not, which of course if it isn't, then we're not doing that. But anyway, that's sort of the concept. So we have sent them like our list of improvements, and now we're waiting for them to get back to us in terms of which ones they're willing to cover. So it seems like it's actually a pretty good location in Longmont, and it seems like they've had a little bit of an issue trying to sell the place, and that it's just structured a little bit differently than a lot of places with the different rooms. So anyway, that's sort of our hope. The back rooms, we're going to call it like the 19th hole, right? So anyway, that's about where we are, and I'm getting ready for Longmont Startup Week. Anything interesting happens there, I'll get back to you in another video real quick going over what we learned in the video. And if not, get back to you real quick with another video just with updates on how Skins Golf is doing.